Hi, welcome back to Forgotten Legends of Sound. And today we've got a pretty cool album to share with you guys. It's been, I guess, a couple of weeks since we've done an album, so it was my pick. I decided to do Double Doll, DS Array, DS
Something like that.
Ira,
DS Irae.
whatever. And so,
We don't
um,
speak Latin.
yeah. But I'm excited to jump into this album because this is a very unique and interesting album. And
Yeah.
when I think of like Devil Doll, uh, the word that comes to mind is unforgettable. Devil Doll is the kind of artist that whether you like love this, band or hate it, you're not going to forget it. And so I think it's got a lot going for it. It's more of the prog opera rock kind of arena of sound and everything. But when I had gotten into Devil Doll, it was around 2008. And during this time, I was checking out artists like Morde Macabre and stuff. And there wasn't really a whole lot of Devil Doll on like YouTube or anything at this time. But I remember checking out like the MySpace page for Devil Doll and like listening to little minute clips and everything of like the girl who was death and also DSRA and stuff. And I was just like, man, this is really interesting. And I sent it to you, be like, oh, dude, Ian, check this out. This is pretty interesting.
Along with New Order.
Right. At that time, I was also getting into some synth pop stuff. I got into New Order around that time too. And so, this artist just stuck with me, it's interesting because it's like, at first I thought that like, oh, Devil Doll, oh, is this like some kind of edgy, whatever band. But like as I was digging more into like Mr. Doctor and kind of the story with this artist, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, so he's into like, 1920s, 30s, 40s horror, so on and so forth. And I was just kind of like, okay, so this guy's kind of like an old school classical kind of guy. It's very unique and it's a little bit artsy. It is a little bit of an artsy band. So maybe some people wouldn't like that. Yeah, before I share a little bit more, I did want Ian to talk a little bit about the backstory of Devil Doll because it's actually some pretty interesting information. So take it away, Ian.
I will take it away. And this is actually our second time going through this. So we our like step or whatever is like a little bit off, because we literally did this for like 30 minutes before and the camera, turned off and didn't record anything. We're like, oh my gosh, So here we are again. But, we're just kind of just sharing, like, I'm excited to do this album. Some of the history stuff is really compelling with Devil Doll. Kevin, so first, I guess before I jump into their history, Kevin showed me this band. And I remember listening to the little clip. It was a 3-minute clip of like the girl who was death, and it had that whole like. It didn't have the part where he's like the impossible word escape. It just started where the guitar's like, and that whole bit where he's just like, I'm looking at somebody who belongs to my world. I was just like, I was freaking enamored. And I was like, man, I was like, how did you find this crap, Kevin? Because this was like, this really blew my mind. And I liked, like classical music. I liked some of the symphonic metal kind of stuff, So this was kind of just another direction, but a little more gothic-y, more experimental, more strange, but also really deep. Like, I don't know, this band is just freaking nuts. And I'm glad Kevin found it, and since then we got more into them and stuff. And so Devil Doll, I guess it was started by Mr. Doctor. He revealed his name like many years later. It's like Mario something, but at the time no one knew who he was. They didn't know like who like the band people were or anything. So like in the late 80s, like 90s, when they were making albums, they were a very mysterious kind of band. So they had like a fan club and stuff to try to press all the CDs and stuff and to get them out there. But yeah, just very enigmatic. And some of the, I guess for this album, some of the backstory with this is, I guess they'd already recorded like 4 albums prior to this one. So in '93 they were recording this one, and DSRA means the Day of Wrath. In like fancy speech, like so they were recording it, and then there was like a fire in the studio and it like burned everything. So they were like disheartened and like, oh, I'm not going to record it again. But then somewhere in 1994, and this is just what I'm reading online, I I don't have all the,
take it for what you will.
Take it for what you will.
Internet,
This is how I understand these events.
Yeah.
So then in 94, he decided to re-record it all again. And they basically recorded this album in 1995 and released it at the beginning of 1996. And there's just so many awesome musicians on this. They got this soprano opera singer chick to sing on it, and she's phenomenal. Her voice with Mr. Doctor, he has this sort of Sprechgesang, whatever, German, it's like this style of singing, I guess, where you're like talking, but also kind of singing, talking. And it's like very theatrical. Both of those two singers play off each other really well, and it's just awesome. And I don't know, it's combining classical with rock with just so many cool kind of influences.
That's one thing that I really loved about Devil Doll when I was getting into it is it was very theatrical. And like when I think of vocalists and everything, I think of like the Van and Pla's vocalist has a similar approach where it's a lot more of like a theatrical approach instead of just singing a song that you listen to while you're going to the store. It's more so like when you're hearing like Devil Doll or heck Van and Pla, sometimes it feels like you're in the theater, you're watching the orchestra, you're watching a scene play out, on the stage. And I think like Mr. Doctor does a really good job of just, when he's saying words, he's kind of painting a picture too, you know? So
yeah, and another thing I read online too, and here's the thing about Devil Doll stuff. A lot of this information I read, I think they had a website years ago, and I remember reading into a lot of this stuff. So I don't know if that is even online anymore or anything, but I guess like he has some kind of background in like law, and he grew up like his parents played like a lot of classical music and stuff in his home. So he kind of grew up with this sort of love of classical and love of old horror stuff. So I think you'll hear that in this album. You hear those kind of influences. And he also wrote a book too, which is kind of interesting. He wrote this book that focuses on late 70s, like 45 singles from like obscure punk mod kind of like bands and stuff. I haven't read it or anything, but it seems like this niche sort of book for hardcore people into that. But yeah, they're a really cool band. And should I share that little quote bit?
Yeah.
Well,
so
just kind of
So one of the things that's fun with this band is like he's very mysterious and everything of an individual. And there was a time back in the day when like nobody knew like hardly anything about him, and he would do weird stuff. Like I think like there's this album that he only made one copy of it, and like he like has it in his house or whatever. And I can only imagine like people being like going to his place or whatever and be like, oh, can we listen to it? And then him like putting it down, and then he'll be like setting the needle, and then he's like, no, I don't, not today, I can only imagine like how many people like want to hear that album, but it's like his, his baby, and it's just, this is the kind of person that you're dealing with. It's like, someone who's very mysterious, but I also think that with a lot of Devil Doll lore, there might be some misdirection, there might be some red herrings where it's like, what's true, what's not. I don't think that that's the point per se. It's just this band is like shrouded in a lot of mystery, but like,
that's kind of the fun in it.
That's kind of the fun, and share how he got the group together.
And one thing I wanted to add too was like, I guess that first album, The Mark of the Beast, he explained that a lot of the musical sections in that became later Devil Doll albums. So you're not missing out on like, man, I wonder what all that music is in there. Like maybe you're missing out on some of the most beautiful music ever, but at least you got some of it like reappearing in some of the later albums. So like this is the message. So I guess like in order to bring this whole concept to life, he needed to find other musicians that were also compelled to such mystery and such, devoted, would you say, to creating this work of art. So anyway, so this was like the ad that he put out there to recruit people. And so basically in the ad, I'm sure there's probably contact info and everything, but there's this section that says, a man is less likely to become great the more he is dominated by reason. Few can achieve greatness, and none in art, if they are not dominated by illusion. And it's just like that sort of like quote or whatever kind of sums up, the sort of appeal, attraction of Devil Doll, the sort of trying to create something, I don't know. It's just freaking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I don't have too much else to say, but
yeah.
So cool.
We are going to do like a review analysis, like we do with our other videos and everything. For those who aren't really familiar with our channel, like we'll listen to the album, we'll talk about it, and then we'll rank it between a 1 and a 10.
Yeah.
You know, now given that this is only one song, there's only going to be one score that we'll have at the end.
Yeah.
But we are going to pause it at times just to talk about what we had just listened to. You know, and so yeah, there's only going to be one ranking, but we also want you guys to buy the album, support the artist. You know, because we're not doing this for like our benefit. You know, we're doing this because there's a lot of artists that mean a lot to us, and we don't want them to be forgotten. We don't want them to fade into obscurity or whatever. And I know that there's a diehard fan base for this group, but I still think that like it's still pretty underrated, you know? And so it's like we want to share that with other people and keep these bands and everything alive, you know? So
gotta turn off this phone.
Yeah.
I agree, because Devil Doll is something that the people that know them are pretty die-hard, because like who's going to be interested in this kind of music? Somebody who's like, oh, I love experimental, you know, gothic, you know, horror, like totally out there, avant-garde, kind of like classical music. That's my thing, you know? It's like the regular layman is not going to come across this band. So it would be really cool to be able to spread this or share it to more people, just to kind of get it out there, you know? But yeah, I'm excited to start this.
Yeah, let's jump into it, man.
Okay, so here is Devil Doll's DS Irae. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Whew, yeah, these lyrics are gonna be really good. Oh, snap. Gotta get your spectacles for this.
Yeah, I gotta get my spectacles on.
This is
Starting off strong.
Starting off strong. This is how you do it, man. This is how you start a freaking record. I wish we could do this in the dark, but whatever. It wouldn't work for the video, but it'd be more fitting, you know?
behind myself. I hold my breath. In the air, shots of crushed rainbows. In my limbo, placed somewhere between word and toys, between word and toys.
Yeah.
Do you want to play with me? In the soundtrack of my survival, the furious small hammers fully uprooted from the key-shaped skeleton, cruelly explore every cranial path. Always closer, always more.
Oh, right. This next part 4 is what I thought. Yeah, at the end of part 4. It's like end of part 4, end of part 7, and end of part 10. Like whatever a tuba sounds like. You know,
Got like a
yeah, little thing. Off the chain.
yeah. Heck yeah, man.
Woo!
Yeah, I think that's just a phenomenal way to begin.
10.
It's very ominous and everything, and it kind of comes in, and it changes up a lot in these first 10 minutes or whatever. These first 4 parts are just like, it switches up quite a bit and everything, and it's a very strong start for this song. I love all the piano parts. The complimentary. Really solid. What'd you think of that first bit?
I thought it was freaking sick. I mean, yeah, this whole album's really good. I did like the lyrics a lot. There's like some parts where I was kind of just like, oh, that's what he says at this part and whatnot, I love how Mr. Doctor changes his voice so much, like some parts it'll just be more like maniacal and crazy, and then some parts more brooding. And I kind of wanted to read just a little bit of these lyrics for the people watching. This part really, like during this whole part, I was kind of getting chills because I was just like, man, this is so sick, Anyways, I thought this was cool. The lyrics are like, I guess, motley mimes toss about the scene, held up by threads, sinking in the deep. On stage in a corner, hidden behind myself, I hold my breath in the airless air. Shards of crushed rainbows fill my limbo, placed somewhere between world and toys. Do you want to play with me? In the soundtrack of my survival, the furious small hammers, fully uprooted from their key-shaped skeleton, cruelly explore every cranial path, always closer, always more painful. The shark's fin is sighting straight for me. Creatures or spirits, I beg you. I was just like, that whole bit is just so freaking cool. And the way the violin is like going and the piano parts, like there's so much variety here that it's very rich. You don't know what turn they're going to go, Right. There's a sense of like mystery mixed with like horror, as well as like maybe almost like a little bit of beauty or something, not too much, but like some of the melodies are like kind of like beautiful, too. So I think it's pretty dope.
If someone were to be like, like Double Doll, it conjures up like just very beautiful. I would be like, I understand what you mean,
Yeah.
Because it is eclectic and strange, but there's also this underlying beauty to it, and I think that's one thing that you get with classical music and stuff, and 3-4 times the orchestrations and things. It creates this really beautiful feeling. So
yeah, awesome. And they just really built suspense a ton, even from the beginning when they're like, that just builds your anticipation.
I do like that the drums and the guitar don't like go way above and beyond. Like everybody complements the whole goal.
They're not one side overpowering another. Right. Like
it's very together.
Yeah. I agree with you. Should we move on to the next little section? Go down this cranial path.
Yeah.
Mama, help me.
There's this, well, later on I'll talk about it.
Yeah. What this is.
Like the same aggressiveness irritating the animal he hunts, seeking possession with the spirit of the beast. So the innocence of its wing, the spirits of the great cry will transcend time, soaring over physical extinction.
Really let the lower end is going on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Nope. Nope. So after this part, I guess. Okay. Hook hands, yeah.
Hooked hands stretched out above. In the ultimate endeavor to clutch an atom that does not sink.
you doing?
What do you think so far, bro?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it's like a masterpiece or something. No, that bit whenever him and her were both singing is like, you know, that whole section is like my favorite part on this.
Yeah.
I like how crazy they sound and stuff, and I don't know, the lyrics are cool. Like, I don't know, this whole song is really engaging, you know.
Yeah.
And some parts too, like, you know, the part when she's like, "Mommy, I'm cold," or whatever, you know. What's funny is I always felt like that part was like more of a horror part to make it more spooky and stuff. Now I kind of felt like that part was more sad, like, because it was like, man, if there was a ghost that died and they're still like stuck in the way they died or something, that'd be like.
So that little clip is
Eternal
taken.
torment.
It's taken from. It's like a 1950s horror movie called like Black Sunday or Black Sabbath or whatever. There's 3 segments in that horror movie, and it's the 3rd segment, and like everyone's turning into vampires or whatever. And there's this girl that's turned into a vampire. So she goes to the door and she's saying, "Mommy, I'm cold. Mommy, let me in," but doesn't want to like let her in because she's already
vampire?
turned. Yeah. And then at the end of it's been like 8 years since I saw it or whatever. The first segment was pretty cool. The second one was okay. The third one was pretty cool. But in the end, like everyone turns or
Into
whatever.
vampires.
Yeah. Like undead vampire, something like that. But yeah, so that is directly taken from that.
Yeah.
I think the director was like Mario Bava or something like that. Really like loved in Italian like cinema and stuff or whatever. Correct me if I'm wrong on the director. I'm going off of memory. So
Yeah.
anyways, but yeah, I mean, but when you take things, you can take different interpretations and things, you know what I mean? But I'm always viewing that scene in my head when that part happens.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah.
I guess it's not that sad. She vampire, man.
Yeah.
Keep her out, man.
Yeah, I love that cello section right before, you know, like that cello part is so good. And I like the French horns coming in after he says like physical extinction, you know? It's just like it just, man, it's so freaking good. Like so far in this song, like I have no gripes, no complaints or anything.
Nothing.
And like it's great to listen to this like when you're alone, when it's dark, you know, you really immerse into it, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's pretty solid.
I remember one night I went through Girl Who Was Death and I went through Iliogabulus, and I turned off the lights. All I had was the light from my computer because I wanted to read the lyrics, and then I was reading the lyrics like in the booklets or whatever, you know. I was like, I wanted to make sure like I got everything from these or whatever, and that was really cool. I want to do that with like all those albums. Like I think that'd be kind of cool just to, I don't know, have that experience. But yeah, I don't have much more to say. Just the musician, everything on this is so it's so solid. It's so tight. And I like that it jumps between something more epic to something more sad to something more creepy or whatever. Yeah. Like, I don't know. This is really eclectic and just really cool.
I never feel like any section overstays its welcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they do change it up quite a bit.
And that's another thing too. Like when I first heard Devil Doll, I thought they were kind of like unexpected, where I was like, oh, this is one of those bands where they do something cool for a little bit, but then they switch to something totally different. And it was harder to like latch onto things because I was like, man, I wish they did this like a long time or something or whatever. But it's kind of like you have to accept it on its terms, you know, just like that unexpected. The more you hear it, it doesn't bother you that it's constantly changing and whatnot. It's actually kind of enjoyable, you know.
Take it as a whole and
yeah.
So Flesh Aquarium.
Yeah. You ready for to move on?
Let's move on.
Oh snap. And I assume we're here, but it sounded like those choir people were doing that. But I'm pretty sure. This stuff is really beautiful, you know.
In the day of over. Scored by silence, spirits creep out of the sacred nooks, scattering the streets, each one choosing his own beloved prey.
Like, these lyrics are so fucking good, man. I mean, he's like talking about like monsters or whatever, but it's done in a way that's freaking like looking for your beloved prey. I mean, gosh dang, like that's awesome.
And musically, his own beloved prey. Violin, viola, whatever.
Oh, here's the prod part. That was like 5 and then a 6, I think. 5, 4, and 6, yeah. Yeah. They're going wild.
Among the trees, holding her out, my hand. What about her walk? I avoid the sharp splinters of her sweet
well written.
shattered cage, step by step into
Great lyrics.
Yeah, gives you chills, you know.
of doubt. Every shelter a trap. Wild distress I witness, the twilight of my heart. You spread around drops of light. Unaware of the
Like, this whole bit is like really tragic sounding, you know. This is like the crazy section when they have a bunch of different
Screaming
cries and
and
stuff. Yeah. I don't like this. I don't like this.
But one day she flew away.
Oh, she flew away.
She had to.
I wish we had the lyrics there.
Yeah.
But one night
This is probably like from some movie too.
It's beautiful. It does sound familiar. I don't know why.
Having that cranked, it is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have it blasting in the car.
Yeah. And then it just does that. You're like, gosh dang.
The dance of death.
Oh, maybe that wasn't on this. Probably in here, but the lyrics are hard to read in there because they're all scribbled and stuff, you know? This is the avant-garde section of the album.
Carnival is over. Carousels no
I
more.
bet they just forgot to put this section.
Yeah.
At least we're still being able to hear what he's saying.
And then, if it should be the will of my inquisitor, the privilege to die.
Yeah, they're on here. Maybe we should just read them on here.
Each man kills,
Maybe they'll have them on here.
but then he loves. Each
Yeah, it's like the same.
It's like the same. Well, the thing he loves.
the thing.
I bet most people probably couldn't get all the track 10 and figure it out, so. This is the freaky part. Conquer worm, man. Gosh dang.
You. I am the beating of your heart, the footstep of an assassin.
I don't know, man.
Not gonna lie, that part lost me a little bit.
They're all like, I don't know, man, some conqueror worm or something. I don't know.
And, you know.
Yeah, still enjoying it and everything. We've had like 2 or 3 different tabs open for different lyrics, and all of them left out track 10's lyrics, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, that was kind of too bad. But, I mean, we can still make out a lot of the words and everything, you know? But, yeah, but still solid. I like where they're going. I love that section with the kind of the bass cello, like, you know?
What's strange is the lyrics actually skip that section too. It goes from, and the virgin blade kisses your throat, and then he kills the one he loves.
Right.
And then the next page is in the purple flashes of the blazing blood.
Yeah. Whoops.
So, I mean, I don't know. He was saying stuff there, but
Yeah.
I kind of want to just show some of this art too.
Yeah, that's fine.
Some of the art in the booklet is just freaking awesome. You know, this is like, you know, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari type surreal horror kind of looking stuff.
Right.
And this one I think is kind of cool too.
Yeah,
you know,
the arms
little
reaching out.
arms reaching out. And he's just like, I don't know, what do you want from me?
Yeah,
kind of cool.
You know, so I still think it's pretty solid. You know, still, I don't know. Do you have anything more to add?
No, I think this is usually the section that loses me a little bit in the album. Everything up to here, and then the last little bit loses me a bit. But I mean, I still enjoy it. It's still pretty cool. Nightmarish, you know, all the different clips all put together, but it's still really engaging and interesting, you know.
I guess let's just press on.
I think we're gonna do the rest, until the end. So I was looking up on Discogs to try to figure out all the different pressings for this album. I think we have it's an earlier pressing because it only has 16 tracks, but then later they expanded it, like some reissues later have 18 tracks. And I think the 18 tracks just has long silence and then a last 2-minute thing. So I think we're going to try to play those last 2 minutes just from my phone, just to show you what that sounds like, because we don't actually have that on the, you know, where this is the riff from the CD.
But we also have another version of this CD.
Yeah, we have another, but I think that one's also
one
16.
Oh, really?
I thought it was also.
I thought it was 18.
I don't know,
because I remember
it
having.
Might have been 18. Yeah,
I remember having a version.
Yeah,
because we've had this album like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, you bought a copy back in the day,
right?
And then I bought like all 5 of them in 2017, 26, like kind of around there is when I picked up all of them.
Yeah, because the one that I ordered back in the day, I think that one did have 18.
Oh, okay.
Tracks. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. So, yeah, I guess we're just doing it this way.
Yeah, it's fine though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna just do the rest of this album.
Yeah, let's
You guys ready? Oh, I kind of wanted to read those lyrics, but that's okay. They read the lyrics. Like they're pretty dope.
Blazing blood. Slowly we vanish in and around ourselves. Cells of spirit dissolve bit by bit. You will not get out of Suddenly, the void feels your firstborn vibration. Just the still splendor of your icy walls endures. I see you through my tears. Tears that nobody ever will try. over.
I feel like this is kind of the whole, the major theme. Like this melody is just, I don't know.
The curtain comes down
Like
like a funeral. A funeral. Oh.
It's so like decisive.
With a rush of storm, while angels pale and silent, rising and unveiling that we are witnessing the tragedy. And its hero, its only hero, is
That word, though.
Yeah, he said it.
That's it. They went there.
Yeah.
They went there. I'll conquer a worm.
Conquer the world.
Cowboy fought the conquer a worm.
Conquer the world. They already say that It's just like, I guess I can cover I like all the male low vocal choruses and things, you know.
Yeah. I wonder if this is the Edgar Allan Poe bit. I don't know.
So pretty good. I don't know.
Honestly, that bit is more impactful with the lyrics.
Yeah,
you know?
with the lyrics,
Instead, when I'm
yeah.
listening to it, it's like, oh, here's another kind of part where they're,
Yeah, the lyrics really, yeah,
yeah,
freaking hell, man.
made it, yeah, made it, yeah.
I don't know how I can like just.
Gets ya.
I don't know how I could like not give this a 10, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it's just like.
Behind every kiss, a potential to test desire of biting the vital artery, mine around the first passerby, insects with legs torn off, my pains one by one, shards of glass in eyes.
Yeah, me too. That's how you do it. This is Emily Bronte, The Prisoner, which is interesting because The Prisoner was that TV show that he sampled the first album from, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
with that little end clip
So it's a
thing.
big influence.
And kind of interesting, yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
cool though. This is some dope stuff.
Are you gonna play that
You want-
first, or should we talk about this section?
What do you want to do? Let's just play it real
Okay.
quick.
All right.
So this is just the last 2 minutes after you wait for like a bunch of silence or whatever. So I'm gonna
connect it. Can you
No,
connect
I
it?
can't.
Oh,
This phone doesn't
okay,
work.
okay.
So I'm just gonna put it next to the camera so
Oh,
people can
well-
hear. Oh,
Then maybe we shouldn't even do it. You know, look it up. You know, like look it
Look it
up.
up.
Like we don't have it connected to the speakers.
it's kind of cool.
Look it up.
kinda
You
cool.
know.
No, that's fine. Yeah. What do you want to say about this?
I think this section is phenomenal. I love like the male choir going on and everything, and I guess like I do want to read those lyrics real quick.
This right here.
Yeah, what is The Prisoner from? What is that originally? Is it
I don't
some
know.
story like?
I mean, this is like wrong thing. This is like I guess a poem from
because it's really good.
Emily Bronte, The Prisoner.
The prison, yeah, because these lyrics here, when he says, well, it's the male choir singing it. Yet I would lose no sting, would wish no torture less. The more that anguish racks, the earlier it will bless. And robed in fires of hell, or bright in heavenly shine, if it but herald death, the vision is divine. I like that section a lot. It reminds me a lot of like, there's this like German composer guy. I think his name was like Brahms or something. He had something like all that freak. I can't even remember the song, but something along the lines of like, you know, as we turn to the earth or something like that. And he's got like a much more of a morose, like sad kind of approach and everything. And I've only heard a little bit of Brahms, but this just kind of reminded me of that. I love it when like artists and bands will use concepts of like heaven and hell, and the music really depicts the gravity of some of these topics, you know. Yeah, I think it's pretty solid, you know. We'll give our rating at the end as a whole and everything,
Sure.
but yeah, what'd you
Well,
think
my
of this
thoughts?
section? Yeah.
What's interesting is like for me, like I've heard this album a bunch of times, but it's always the last little bit that kind of loses me until it kind of finally ends, you know.
Sure.
But reading the lyrics along with it, it was more engaging. That part when the men were singing, I love that part. That was freaking awesome. Whereas normally not like listening to it without the words, that part kind of just goes, you know.
Right.
And I like the reiteration of some earlier ideas, you know. That's really cool bringing those back, and just some the lyrics were just really freaking good. I like this kind of crazy part where they're like peace, kill, sleep, murder, death, you know.
Yeah.
All that kind of adds to the mania and craziness of it all. And
Yeah.
it was just I don't know. This song is just really freaking good. Yeah, and I
guess-
like the triumphant ending too. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the
cool.
triumphant ending.
Yeah,
I-
it's very theatrical.
What would you rank this album? What would you, or this
I think-
song? This, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
think my score would be between a 9 and 9.5.
Okay.
I don't think I'd give it all a 10 because I don't think every single thing is a 10 throughout the whole piece, you know?
my issue is like if I was thinking between 9.5 and a 10, but if I give it a 9.5, I feel like it does disservice to those masterpiece
Yeah.
moments. But then like because there's very few parts that are like
Yeah.
less than masterpiece.
Yeah.
I feel like when like 80 to 90% of it is masterpiece.
Yeah, it's like,
And
come
then
on.
it's dude,
You
it's
round
like a
up.
45 minute song, and like, oh well, this
Yeah.
1 minute.
Well, like 5
here,
minutes weren't
or-
very good.
Yeah,
so
you know, I
it's
just
just kind of like, come on, man.
So I'm gonna give it a 10. I do think this is a masterpiece, and going through it with the lyrics and everything, it is a pretty powerful effect, so to speak.
Yeah.
I guess so. The final score would be 9.75.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I was not bringing out my calculator for that. Nope. No way.
Yeah. So the final scores, Ian gives it a 9.5.
Yeah, I gave it 9.5. Kevin gave it a 10. And then the final score we give it collectively is a 9.75. That's like the highest score we've given anything, you know?
What did Lemons Rob get? Because I was high.
That
nines,
was
too.
9.6 something, I think. I don't know. I'd have to
Would
check.
Yeah. But I'm really glad we went through this album. You know, it's a solid album. Like, definitely check it out. You know, those of you who already know are probably already shaking your head. Yeah, we already
just
know.
like,
You know,
right there.
you know.
Right
but
there.
you know, it is an incredible piece of music. You know,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad we got into it.
And it's just I just really love the lyrics, you know. I think he's got a way with like describing things in very like visual ways, you know. Like I don't know, it's like it's not about like just like stabbing someone or some whatever. It's like this artistic kind of, you know, like crazy way, and I don't know, it's just I don't know. The music and everything is just so freaking cool, you know. Yeah, I'm glad we did it too. It was kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess that about sums it up. Thanks everybody for watching. We're Forgotten Legends of Sound, and you, bro, you got the next pick. So
I got the next pick.
we'll check it out.
See ya.